Okay, so since we've skipped the opening cutscene, we are Terra, who has a bunch of question marks over her head, and two Magitech soldiers, and we are charging through the town of Narshe to go find an Esper. From a speedrun perspective, our goal here is to kill these fights as quick as we can, while also getting enough experience to hit level 6, which will mean making our little soldier buddies run away from every fight. Should be simple enough. Let's see how they do. Taking a slight skip around the center to skip a fight, and we're caught in a picture here. Okay, it looks like both Kehanort and Gearless have managed to properly run away from the first couple of fights, so everything's going smoothly and according to plan for both of our racers. Hopefully that keeps up for them for the next hour and a half here. It's not too long of a race, but it does take a little while to get through this portion of the game. So, third fight is fairly simple. You can't run away from mammoths, but you can run away from guards. So they're going to kill off the mammoths and then use Terra to blow away the guards, and hopefully both Vix and Wedge will manage to run away right at the last second. Looks like everything went clear for both of them. So, one of the parts for speedrunning is folks will try to properly manipulate the random encounters to make sure that they happen at specific points and that they don't happen at specific points. Our first indicator that both of them have done this in the optimal make would be that there's no random encounters before this boss and directly after it. If we get a random encounter while we're not in a Magitech suit, we're good. Both of these folks are now again to the first boss fight, Whelk. Whelk is basically a giant snail in a very electric shell, you know, as you often find in nature. They will be trying to manipulate the attacks of it to where they can get a quick kill before the snail will try to curl back up into its shell. Let's see how they do. Kehanort has gotten a quick kill. He's off to a good start. It looks like Gearless has not been so fortunate. This could be bad, this could be okay. It's going to depend on... Okay. So when you hit a shell, it counterattacks by trying to blast you with a bolt of lightning. That could have gone a lot worse, but the important thing is that Terra survives, so there should be a quick cleanup. And it is. So, it's just a minor setback. Things are still really close here.
Yeah, it was a great recovery right there.
It really was. And so far, it appears that both runners are properly on step routes, so there shouldn't be any surprises as far as random encounters, unless somebody gets a preemptive and somebody else gets a pincher for the same fight. We'll see. We'll get a few minutes of story here. Tara has not been of her own mind, and she has amnesia because of this magic crown that Arvis makes levitate over the carpet. We're going to give her her actual name here in a minute, which will most likely be shortened down to a single character because text scrolls in this game and things go by much faster when you are one character. Breves is short yo. A couple of Dobermans come out. They think they found the lady that was tearing up the town. And Tara is going to take off into the caves trying to make her escape. Okay, so while she's going through the back of the caves here, Kehanort is going to have Tara light a few random monsters on fire so that she can finish picking up level 6. If everything goes to plan, he'll get the last fight right as he gets to the end of the cave here. So everything should be nice, quick, and clean. Occasionally, some of these repairmen will respond to being lit on fire by throwing a wrench, and if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge pretty much anything. Alrighty, so on Kehanort's side, he just got level 6. He's got a new spell to pick up with it. He takes one too many steps into the cave, gets swarmed by a bunch of the local guards, and has fallen into a deeper part of the cave, where she is now collapsed. We'll move on to a little bit more story here. First, a flashback, where we get to meet one of the villains of our story, Kefka, a man with a very gauche sense of fashion and a iconic laugh, wahahaha, so on and so forth. He is putting on the slave crown on top of Tara, putting her in a Magitech suit, and then lighting his own soldiers on fire. And there's a lot of flames in this early game. Anyway, so after we get this piece, we'll get an additional piece of cutscene where you can see her standing in the background while some of the other major characters of the Empire, primary antagonist for this game, cheer in the back. That's Kefka, General Leo, Emperor Gestal, General Kutan, and Tara standing in the very back, with a bunch of soldiers that keep cheering with their right hands because reasons. Meanwhile, on Gearless's side, Tara has just set a different soldier on fire, perhaps saving a few frames. Really know the difference. And getting ready to listen to the same exciting speech. these runners are still doing quite well and are very close to one another. Kehanort is naming our second character, L, short for Locke, who really doesn't like it when you call him a thief. Also, he's trying really hard to bring headbands back into style, which is always a good decision. Always. So, he's worried that his friend here wants him to deal with the Imperial Magitech Riding Witch, which of course he does because bot. And we are going to sweep into our next area of game. Locke is talented with falling long distance and landing on his feet, so he may be part feline, we're really not sure. But in the meantime, a few of the local guards have found him, and while the story wants you to split off into a few different groups here and fight them all off, we're going to do the efficient thing. We're going to sneak right around them and punch their leader directly in the mouth, which should be fun. We're also going to steal one of the characters' equipments because they are much nicer than some of the stuff we already have to work with. Some folks go left here. I've seen a few wait in the center and then go right. Looks like Kehanort prefers the left route. And while you're supposed to get an encounter when you touch these guys, if you move by them while they're in the middle of taking a step, there's no trigger and there's no fight. So, our first runner has managed to successfully move right by our swarm of guards and take on the boss. Gearless has also gone left, however he is taking a breather in the middle. Looks like he may be working his way right through the center. Oh, and he picked up an encounter. That's unfortunate. These fights are fairly minor, but they do take up some time, so this will put him just a tiny bit further behind.
Yeah, and since the similar enemies as the beginning of the game, you can't run from any of them because they're all Lobos and Mammoths.
That's a very good point. Now, he may make up a little bit of time if he can get Mog to dance and kill the Marshal faster than normal, but I'm not sure he's going to try. Actually, it looks like he's not trying. That's fine.
It's a pretty unknown backup, honestly, and also low percentage of doing it.
I recently started learning this game myself, and I picked it up as a backup just because I wasn't smart enough to get around the mobs yet, so at least not for the first few turns.
I suppose that's fair. Once you get used to it, it's not the worst thing you can do, though.
Nah, it's really not that bad. Okay, so on Gearless's side, Locke is throwing Terra over her shoulder and trying to boot scoot out of town as fast as he possibly can. He's going to use a magic secret exit here, which most folks won't know about. It may come in handy later, hashtag foreshadowing. Meanwhile, Kehanort is a little bit further down the road. He is doing his best to stay on step route, finding the most efficient way to get to our next town, which is the Castle of Figaro. It looks like everything went through just fine. Figaro is a giant brick castle in the middle of the desert, and it has another main character that we're going to get to know very well, normally referred to as Edgar, but we'll just call him E. Lots of head nodding is about to break out, but I think we're going to name him first. Yeah, we do. head nodding. Locke runs away. Edgar and Tara have a nice conversation, and then we go fill out a little bit more story, and we have a few minutes of cutscenes. So, meanwhile, Gearless is trekking through the fields on his way to Figaro.
He actually ended up stepping on a forest tile, so it's actually changing his encounters throughout too. So he got a lot of 3 enemy fights instead of getting the normal, like, single guy fights.
That's a good point. I didn't see that, but I should have noticed. So after you talk to Edgar, you could technically just rummage around through the entire city and talk to everyone. But the person that really matters is a lady off to the left here called Matron. And Matron is going to have a flashback of her own with a stranger that she's never met before. This flashback happens to talk about how Edgar has a twin brother, kind of a mishmash of a guy that we would normally call Saban. Or in this case, we're just going to call him S because abbreviations. I did have someone bring this up the other day. You can be twins and have one be younger and older. You don't necessarily have to pop out of the mother at the exact same second in order to be considered twins. I don't know why, but I just found that hilarious. So, the flashback is over, and Kehanort is going to go right back to the throne and talk to Edgar, where we will get our next small piece of exposition. Meanwhile, Gearless, just a moment behind, is running down to have his flashback with the matron as well. Meanwhile, Kefka has just shown up. He is remarkably agitated because he has to walk through the desert, and because his soldiers have nothing better to do, they're going to buff the sand off with his shoes, which is kind of like bringing a broom to the beach. That being said, he's very happy, he laughs, he calls his soldiers idiots, and he charges right into the castle so that he can have a chat with the king. Edgar's going to talk to both of these soldiers so that he can then talk to Kefka, who is going to try to interrogate him about Tara. Edgar, however, pretends to not know anything because, man, look at all these women's out here in this desert castle. I can't even tell them apart. Who knows who she could be? Kefka's agitated, he runs away, and Tara shows up 4 seconds later. They're gonna go get ready. So Kehanort picked up an early lead with 2 small things. He got the quick kill on Welk, while Gearless had a slightly slower kill. And then Gearless picked up an encounter on the way to the Marshal, while Kehanort did not. So no major tragedies, just small little things here and there, and they are both very much in this race right now.
We're definitely nearing the end of Cutscene Castle here.
Getting close to it. Maybe maybe another 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, just Edgar running away.
I've never been able to figure out, does this scene imply that the bricks themselves have caught fire and are flammable, or is it just everything else they somehow lit on fire?
I thought the castle was made of stone plus like some sort of, flammable material.
Yeah, I don't quite understand. I'm not sure that's how bricks work.
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess if you pour, like, lighter fluid on a brick, maybe it lights on fire. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, we're about to find out, though. This is a very magical castle, so I mean, if I had a castle that could do the kind of stuff this thing does, I'd have a castle. So,
Yeah.
Kefka thinks that Edgar is pinned. However, Edgar has a flair for the dramatic, leaps off his castle onto the Chocobo. Locke and Tara do the same, and somehow not only have they not managed to break the backs of all these noble birds, they are now able to run away and get away from the bad guy. Well, the castle is going to retract itself and submerge under the sand in order to put out all the fires.
I've noticed that jumping and landing on things seems to be kind of a theme in this game.
You know, I can see that. It gets especially crazy if you try to do the math of, okay, 1 pixel is how much of this person's body, but they're probably like 6 feet tall, so... I mean, I did that at one point, and I think 1 pixel is like, I don't know, 6 or 9 inches, so they probably jumped 15 feet down onto those birds. Either way, I should be paying attention to runners, not this. So Kehanort is going to try to pick off these 2 soldiers that have caught up. He's going to do his best not to use Tara's magic. And it looks like he's got through the fight just fine. 21-42, that's a pretty good split, isn't it?
It's not bad, yeah.
Better than I can do. So Kehanort is off to a great start. Gearless is following close behind. His castle is basically sinking into the sand as we speak, and then he should be able to quickly clean up this fight and move along. Woo, Figaro! Indeed. It really depends on where you're from. Some folks would say, bravo, while others would just go, woo! I never actually figured out what ethnicity the demon chocobo is, so I'm really not sure what to say. Okay, so Kehanort is had a short conversation among the protagonists. He's run off to a cave, which is going to take us to another town called South Figaro. Gearless has just finished off his Magitech fight, probably about a minute and a few seconds behind Kehanort. He is a son of a submariner. I know I pronounced that wrong. And he's going to head for this cave so that they can run off to South Figaro as well. South Figaro, while looking like a small town on the water, actually has one of the most valuable things known in existence, the sprint shoes, which will allow us to run much faster, slightly less accurately, and be able to haul wherever we need to go. So the fights here are relatively simple. It's mainly just throwing an auto crossbow at everything that moves, which is Edgar's first tool and very nice attack. These tend to give better experience inside the cave than they do outside the cave. So he'll take these fights, he'll run from anything he runs into in the outworld, and he will move to the next main area of the game. I don't know about you, I'm having a hard time just with the 2 audio in my ear and constantly wanting to hum the victory and the battle themes. You ever run into that problem?
Yeah, occasionally. It's even worse when, like, you know that your game audio is different from your microphone. So if you hum it, it is actually off.
It's a nice chorus effect. So Kehanort has picked up his his sprint shoes, he is dashed off to the Chocobo store, where he's going to rent a Chocobo. They only ask you if you know how to use it after you buy it. I never really understood that. And he's going to jaunt quickly on over to Mount Colts, which is the next section of the game that we have to come through. We are trying to make a break for the Returners hideout. The Returners are the main protagonist group against the Empire. Kind of like an Insurgents, but a much nicer connotation. They have a hideout in the back of the mountains, and we have to travel through this mountain in order to get to their leader. So along the way, there's a couple of small things we're going to pick up, mostly an Atlas armlet, which we will slap onto Edgar, and somehow wearing an armlet will cause his crossbow to fire arrows harder, which is always a good thing. So that's going to let us pick off some of these fights easier, and we're going to end up picking up a couple of levels. If we do our leveling right here now, there's no real need to pick up any experience or farm any fights outside of story fights for the rest of the game, so let's do that. The targets are to get Edgar from level 8 to 10, Locke from 8 to 9, and Tira from 6 to 8, which all happen at roughly the same point. So we're also following along some guy who is in silhouette in broad daylight, because we're not supposed to figure out who he is yet. But that's okay. Kehanort has got a pincher attack here. This is going to be a mild annoyance. This is the kind of fight you should kill off, because it's good experience, but you can't take them all out on one crossbow. So this is probably going to waste an extra moment. Meanwhile, Gearless is running away from random battles on his way to pick up his armlet.
So you saw also Kehanort had his party members run away. I believe it was intended to only have Locke run away. That's what you're supposed to do, but he ended up having both Locke and Tara run away, which is not what you want.
Yeah, it's not the best outcome, but it's definitely not unrecoverable. So the ideal situation is that both of these runners will get their last level they need right as they get up to the next boss fight at the end of the mountain here. If that doesn't happen, they will have to grind a few extra fights right in front of them. While not the end of the world, it will take them a bit off step route and may make things interesting in the coming out. Kehanort taking a short moment to heal up Tara, who had taken a little bit of extra damage, probably from that pincher attack. Meanwhile, Gearless is making his way around the mountain, just a couple of screens behind. Both of these runners are running a very nice and clean fight so far. Gearless has run into a pair of mammoths called Tuskers. These things have a little bit too much health, so there's not really much of any point at all in trying to fight them. Meanwhile, Kehanort, a couple of screens up, has picked up a side attack against a couple of Trilliums. Trilliums are pretty much the same as Brawlers, except occasionally they'll use an attack that can poison you. Poison is terrible if you keep running with it on, but Tara can cleanse it off, so it's just a minor annoyance. And now I'm going to cross my eyes and see if I can keep track of who's leveling when at the same time. Please don't mind me.
Honestly, it's pretty hard to keep track of who's what level unless you're actually doing it.
I'm sure it's a little bit easier for these runners because they just have to look at their own screen.
Right.
So Kehanort just level on Edgar, so he is probably almost done, but he may need to pick up some extra experience on Terra. So if this finishes them off, then he'll be quite happy and everything should be okay. If it doesn't, he may need to grind an extra fight or two. Gearless is doing a little bit of housekeeping in the meantime, swapping some weapons around, taking the pipe we took off with Mob to put onto Edgar, and putting Edgar's sword over the top of Locke's dagger. Kehanort's Edgar just got poisoned in the middle of this fight, so he's going to go ahead and clean that up now. I know whenever I get food poisoning, it's just terrible, so I really feel for these characters. Gearless had a minor or an unfortunate setback. The crossbow didn't quite finish off one of his trilliums, so that'll cost him just a few seconds. So looking at the numbers here, Kehanort has managed to pick up all his levels, so he's going straight into a fight with a random person named Vargas, who we'll find out is much less random once we get to the end of this fight. The battle strategy is fairly simple. He's going to try to light these bears on fire and then shoot them with arrows until they fall down. Once they fall down, you can take on the Karate Man behind them. And you need to do about 700 points of damage to kick in the next piece of the cutscene, where we will run into another character who we may or may not have seen before. Meanwhile, Gearless is just starting to light his bears on fire. Kehanort is trying to get the last little bit of damage in on Vargas. Hopefully that Edgar doesn't. Okay. So out of nowhere, Edgar's brother Sabin swoops in from the top rope, gets into an argument with Vargas, and they will now 1v1 each other for the title of Master of Karate. Definitely something worth attaining if you can manage to spend the energy to achieve it. They will play a rollicking game now of Who's the Master? Which Sabin will win by using a blitz or pummel, flying at his opponent with lots of fists, and Vargas pretty much explodes because he can't believe that Duncan actually taught him that technique already. So now Vargas is dead. We'll have a nice talk between the brothers and the rest of the party, and we will continue on our way toward the Returner's hideout. Kehanort coming into Vargas with about almost 34 minutes of time. We should know here very shortly how Gearless is doing, but it looks like he's made up a small amount of that time he lost earlier.
It looked like his encounters were just a little bit nicer to him.
Yeah, that pincher may have helped set Kehanort back just a little bit, so I think they're about 30 seconds behind one another at this point, so it's still a very tight and pretty entertaining race.
Yep, it's gone well.
So Kehanort is going to run right past the treasure chest there and try to make his way for the hideout as fast as he can. He's also really going to hope that Edgar doesn't take a hit, and he has. Man, I wish I hadn't jinxed him now. So That is a minor setback just because he doesn't have any Phoenix Downs at this point. He can bring him back at the end once he gets to the hideout, assuming that he knows to do that. But this will set you back just a little bit because the next main story point will give you full health for all of your people that are alive, but it won't for anyone that's dead. So meanwhile, Gearless is now running down the same path, running away from a very odd grouping of enemies, and charging along the field toward the returner's hideout. I didn't see if we got a safety save from Kehanort. There's an extremely small chance that one of the wandering NPCs in this area will wander right in front of the guy taking you to the boss, and since you can control that place, you can end up getting soft locked. It definitely looks like Gearless did not, so I've been told this happens. I've never actually had it happen to me. Have you ever had a problem with the NPC here before, man?
No. Basically, if you mash well enough for the text, it actually can't happen, from what I have heard.
I did not know that. So these folks are going to have a nice conversation where Bannon, the leader of the returners, tends to take things way too seriously and also really enjoy quoting Greek literature. He basically tells Terra the story of Pandora's box, except there's no Pandora in this world, and tries to tell her that the only hope they have is her, which, I mean, he's not wrong, but maybe not the right delivery for this message. So the rest of your protagonist characters are going to take the time to say, hey, whatever you want, Terra, we're good with however you want to decide things, however you want to take care of things, we trust you. And meanwhile, the boss Bannon is going to say, dude, you're going to join us, right? You're going to join us? You're going to join us? You're going to help us? Really? You're going to help us? You're going to join us? And we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately for him, we get better loot if we say no to him. So we're going to come out of here, say no to him a few times, and get a better relic and a shorter cutscene. Because at the end of the day, you just gotta go fast, man. Kehanort has managed to trigger his cutscene, so he has said no to Bannon 3 times. Gearless is still in the process of saying no, no, no. Once he finishes his Amy Winehouse impression, they will both be on the same cutscene, where one of the returners fighters has collapsed into the hideout, telling them that the bad guys are coming, they're here, run, 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 or you'll be well done. Our protagonists are going to try to hop on a raft and ride a river to get away, along with the boss of the returners, while Locke is going to sneak away and try to subterfuge and slow down folks at the next town. So this starts to break up our team into a few different scenarios where they'll have to all come back together before we can get to the end of this. So Kehanort is going to take himself back. He's used up the Phoenix down to bring Edgar back into the fold, so he won't have to go to the end. We're going to do a minor manipulation here, which I am extremely impressed that anybody managed to figure out. If you run back in, save, go to the selection screen, reset, and then run out of this screen right as the wandering NPC walks onto the carpet going up, you won't get any additional fights when you go down the river. I don't know what sort of magical hoodoo the earlier routers used here in order to figure this out, but it's severely impressive. So we'll see if both of our runners can pull off this proper manipulation, and if they do it right, they'll run from the very early fight. They will either run or shoot arrows into a couple of flying dinosaurs in the second fight, and then they won't see anything else until we get to the next boss. Gearless is doing his manipulation now. So let's see if Kehanort goes for the extra fight. Looks like he is going to try to finish off these guys. So he needs to do 2 shots with Edgar and run everyone away. I'm not sure if he's actually going to get everyone to run away, though. I think we're going to see here in a moment. He did not. So he's picked up some extra gold, but he has not picked up enough experience to get Edgar's next level. Gearless is working on the same fight, and it looks like he's going to take the same tact here. This level is not mandatory, but it does get you some extra damage in a couple of key fights down the road, so it's a good thing if you can get it. He's also taking a few safety steps, one of which making sure to get Bannon in the back row, because if Bannon dies, everyone dies. It looks like Gearless did not manage to get the Ripper manipulation now. I'm seeing an extra fight here now.
I think the step before the NPC goes on the carpet, there's 1 extra fight, but it's still relatively the same after that.
Okay. I've only very recently started even trying to attempt this, so I haven't figured out all the ways it can go wrong yet. Okay, so on Kehanort's side, his raft has just fallen off of a cliff. It's going to go a little bit further, and it's going to be attacked by a giant purple octopus, because why not? So if everything goes well with this fight, Kehanort is going to do a few different manipulations on him to try to get minimal turns out of Ultros and get as much damage as it can out of Edgar's 2 weapons, Sabin's Aura Bolts, and Terra's flaming sort of fire. Or he may just be going for Riot Blade strats, I'm not sure here. Hard to tell. Maybe? Actually, no, I think Terra's about to go down. Yes, Terra's dead. So I'm not sure if this is going well or not, but it doesn't look perfect here. Meanwhile, Gearless is just getting cranked away on the same fight. So Kehanort will be just fine as long as he can beat the boss before it takes down Bannon. He'll have enough offense left even if he's only got 1 guy left. Oh no! Bannon's gone down. So Kehanort has now lost this fight, and he is going to have to pick up the river again. I don't know what this does, if he'll still get the manipulations or not. But this is definitely going to cost him a few minutes, and Gearless is going to go back in the lead now. It's very unfortunate.
It doesn't maintain the manipulation.
Okay. Gearless has managed to successfully complete the fight and take down Ultros. So this definitely is not over, but this is a setback for Kehanort. I'm looking forward to see him work his way back into this. So on Gearless's side, Sabin has decided to get a little over antsy with going after the octopus and been swept down a different fork in the road. And we're going to find out what happens to him right now. Sabin's scenario will be where we start. He's going to be washed up onto a shore. Well, he's going to run up to some guy's house and run into a ninja that we could have tried to talk to back in South Figaro. Shadow has his own Doberman. He throws ninja stars. He is made of awesome and has real ultimate power. In fact, he is so cool, we're not even going to shorten his name. He gets to keep his real name and be called Shadow here. So we're going to keep hiking our way down the field through a little bit of forest and end up at a Imperial base right outside the castle of Doma, where our next chunk of exposition story and story exposition will happen. I really have to try not to whistle along with this because that's just going to hurt everyone's ears.
Yeah, that'd be painful.
You're telling me. Meanwhile, Kehanort is just double-checking himself, making sure everyone is properly set up, going back towards the Ultros fight. I feel confident before I'm going into round 2, but we'll just have to see how this goes. Meanwhile, we have on Gearless's side a couple of random soldiers talking to each other, very blatantly just discussing story details they both probably already know. Introducing another character eventually before a commander swoops on over, tells them they need to go storm the castle. Have fun storming the castle, as they would say. And we're going to meet our next protagonist character, Cyan, or as we'll probably call him, either C or Psy or CYA. You know, you really could name him however you want on this one. Either way, Cyan has a very ingenious plan. He is going to walk right up to the boss of these soldiers, punch him in the mouth with a sword, and hope everyone else runs away. He, meanwhile, is about to fall down that waterfall again and give this another shot. I like his chances. I think we're going to see good things here. Gearless is playing with the battle speed and the relics to properly set up Cyan. He's going to use a sword tech called Retort to counterpunch the leader and kill him in one hit. He successfully won. He got a little bit of an interesting outcome with the drop. There's a 1 in 8 chance to get a Phoenix down instead of a relic called a Black Belt. If we were doing the full route, that might be problems for money and equipment and such, but since we're only going as far as we are, that shouldn't be a major concern. For some reason now, Shadow is at the lead of the party, and his dark ninja outfit properly camouflages him with the sand and dark green grass of the base, and no one will notice that he is watching as we meet General Leo.
He's a very sneaky ninja.
He really is. General Leo, wearer of the best high-end type haircut that I've ever seen in this world, is one of the more noble members of the bad guys here, contrasted with Kefka, who is the world's most evil clown. Even the dude from It would be scared of this guy. Leo tries to instruct him to not be a jerk, And Kefka's like, okay, now that he's gone, I'm gonna go be a jerk. Meanwhile, Kehanort has properly taken down Ultros now. He's gotten the win on that fight, and he will soon be on to Sabin's scenario as well. Judging from the timers, he's probably about 5 minutes behind at this point.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So not a great situation to be in, but he definitely is still in this. Meanwhile, on Gearless's side, Sabin wants to know if Kefka wants to be a waiter. Kefka has no interest in this. He's tired of being chased around, and he's going to make his lackeys try to fight off these two guys here shortly. After a small amount of manipulation on the equipment. Oh, great. And Key has accidentally said no to Shadow. Thankfully, Shadow will just sit there, forget that conversation ever happened again, and give you a second chance to tell him yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you accidentally say no, he'll just stand there like nothing ever happened.
Does he go back there if he leaves?
Now that I don't know. I've never actually walked off and come back and seen if he's still there.
Alright. Because theoretically, when you win a random fight, he can leave.
That is true.
But I don't actually know if you can recruit him again or not.
So, pick your favorite reference here for what's going on Gearless's side, whether it's Hey Kool-Aid, whether it's a Jonestown reference, whether you're really just a fan of Purple Drank or Lean, whatever it happens to be. It is not good for Doma. So, this is where unfortunately, most of the population of the castle is going to now be poisoned. People are going to start randomly and by surprise start falling and dying off. This unfortunate soul now falls off the castle because that's what you do when you get poisoned. And this is the part of every run where I ask, wait, did we just mean genocide?
Woof. Woof,
Yeah,
sir. Woof.
They pack some very strong dramatic points into a lot of these games, but we see them so often it's so easy to joke, and sometimes I wonder if I should be cracking jokes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little dark, but yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's American Dad dark or anything like that, but still. Cyan is having a chat with the dying king, who keeps asking him, why in the world are you talking to me? You have a family next over, go check on them. The other soldier is spooked, A, because the king is dying, and B, because there's two headless sets of armor standing there right in front of the throne.
Does seem like a bad place for them. You'd think they'd be like in front of the curtains or something nice, you know, add some atmosphere, but not really just be the centerpiece.
Very awkward. So, Key is about to go punch the commander in the mouth. Well, on Gearless's side, unfortunately, we have just learned that Cyan's wife and child both were caught in the poison. His wife Elaine and his son Owain?
Owain.
Yeah, I've never seen that name spelled that way. Either way, Cyan is rightly pissed, and he is about to take on this entire fort all by himself. Personally, I think he could have taken it without any help, but Shadow and Sabin are going to be good guys here and start punching soldiers along with them and try to make a new friend. Because, hey, the enemy of my enemy is a cool dude.
Yep.
Seems Key is just getting introduced to General Leo, while Gearless is taking on the second of 3 fights. Cyan is not actually controllable here, and I'm not sure if he automatically counterattacks if they do hit him, but he's, for all effects, a member of your party for the next couple of fights before he's a member you can control.
Cyan basically has a black belt equipped, effectively, which is a 50% chance to counter.
Okay. 50% of the time it works every time.
Pretty much, yeah.
So this last fight has 2 normal guys and a cadet. Cadet looks like the axe soldier from a couple of fights ago, except he has a different name and somehow a higher pool of health. So Shadow managed to throw Locke's knife at him. I don't know how he got Locke's knife, but he has it. And these guys have now realized they need to make a break for it out of this base before every soldier in town decides to come give them a hug.
But hugs.
I know, right? Although, really, if a group of folks had just murdered my hometown, they wouldn't like the hugs I'd have to give, so I kind of understand.
Ooh, fair point.
I don't always know what I'm talking about, but when I do, I don't. Kehanort is smacking around Kefka like he owes the money. Meanwhile, the 3 protagonists on Gearless side are using their Magitech armors to great effect. I wonder if they'll have everyone use fire beams or if they'll go for all 3 elements. It's always an open question for streamers I watch.
It is up for contention. We'll see.
Well, you know, as they say, bolt beam, best beam, so. Gearless has one more Magitech fight to go here against 2 soldiers. There's a little bit of extra time he can use to manipulate his inventory if he sees fit, but that's just a minor optimization. It's not going to hurt anything if he doesn't. Yeah, I'm not sure about those Kefka hugs, Natara. It may not be the best idea, but I see where you're coming from.
Wouldn't they just be like poisony and full of evil or whatever?
I feel like he would try to figure out how to poison me and stab me at the same time, which may be a great idea. I don't know.
But he would still be hugging you. You know, I mean, you got to get the good with the bad, right?
Perhaps.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So, Gearless has moved on from Fort Exposition on his way to a forest, trying to make his way back to Narshe. They're going to wander through this forest a little bit. They're going to find a random lake that they can drink from that will magically heal all wounds and restore your health. After they get done with that, they are going to find a train station out in the middle of nowhere. And before doing the smart thing and finding a conductor or anybody who has any idea what's going on, they're going to jump right on the train. Anybody got any automobiles? We'll cover all 3 of them.
Nope.
Unfortunately, English is my first language, so I have no excuse.
Haha.
Meanwhile, it appears that Chad is getting commands from our demon overlord, Chocobo. So I'm waiting to see what sort of magical things will come out of the next few minutes here. And unfortunately for Key, he is now coming up on Cyan's dead family, um, and his own Cyan is about to be thrown into a rage and try to blow up the fort. So Gearless is making his way through the train, basically just trying to push all the passengers out of the way. Somehow these passengers are ghosts, but you can't just mash them out of the way. It looks like he's taking an extra fight here, so perhaps he doesn't get as many worse fights later on. They're going to make it into a few cars before the ghosts try to trap them. Spoiler alert, it won't work. As they continue their way to the front of the train.
Yeah, the fights on the outer part of the train are a lot more mean than the ones inside the train cars.
It's mildly ironic that after a good long time of Terra trying to light everything on fire, Sabin hops on this train, and if he's not lucky, he might run into some bombs himself that will then drop bombs on him and try to light him up. Sabin has a great idea now. He's going to throw Cyan and Shadow on his back and simply jump over the next two cars, which almost works until the roof gives way on the second one. You know, sometimes I wish the Phantom's train was set in a mountain area, because then the ghosts could say they were caught in a landslide with no escape from reality.
Boo.
Come on, man, just look up to the skies and see.
Wow. Just wow.
Come on, man, I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy. Anywho, Kehanort is dutifully working his way through the last few fights here in Fort Exposition, after which he will dash his way onto the forest and jump onto the Phantom train. Gearless is working his way car by car and trying to weave through a bunch of bombs and ghosts. On his way, oh gosh, this could be really... Oh, that was rough. I got 2 blazes before he ran away. He's got an extra Phoenix down though, so it looks like he's got enough healing to recover here. But that was a bit rough. So, on the good side, it's right before the end here, so... Did you talk to either of the runners about whether they were going to validate their run here? Did they come to any agreement?
Nope.
Okay.
Going in blind.
So let's go in blind. If these guys are able to, and Eviltude is just poison. So it looks like Gearless is going to pick up the train. He's trying. Oh, incorrect blitz. Is he gonna give it a second wheel? No, he's not. You know, that was a good try. That's okay.
I feel like that's fair. You know, he gave it a good try and then went ahead with the fight. So we'll give him a B for effort.
Alright, well done either way, sir. So the train says it'll drop you off, but first it has something it has to do. Meanwhile, oh my gosh, Key has got an ugly little pincher there.
That might be the worst pincher attack that you can get.
the worst one I've ever seen. So he probably should try to clear off one side and run, but it looks like he's just trying to kill whatever he can get a hold of here. So I don't know how this is going to turn out for him, but it looks bad. Okay, he's managed to clear one side, and he should be able to run away unless... No, you can run away from Pop.
Yeah, you can. He started running too early, and that's why the message came up.
Yeah, it looks like it's got him confused because he's trying to finish off the fight now.
Super unfortunate.
It is. On Gearless's side, they are hopping off of the train, and unfortunately, Cyan is noticing his wife and child hopping onto the train as they walk on by. So this is a sad moment for him. It gives you a free menu to move things around a little bit, but it is an unfortunate time. So, meanwhile, Key is still working his way up through. I assume he doesn't have extra Phoenix Downs here, so he may just try to keep Shadow and Sabin alive for the rest of this.
It seems like the best play for him, honestly.
Yeah. Cyan is usually slower to run away anyway, so that may actually save him some of his time back. It is unfortunate, though. That pincher is going to set him back by a chunk of time here.
A little bit, yeah.
Meanwhile, the turntables are scratching on Gearless's side because Sabin is poisoned. Now, thankfully, he doesn't have any fights to deal with, and this next chunk of the story here is going to recharge his health, so he should be okay there. However, they've decided as protagonists that they are going to jump off of a giant waterfall because that's the way to get on to the next place they need to get to Narshe. Shadow says, "I'm a ninja, not an idiot, I'm out." And the rest of the guys go, "Whee!"
Oh, wow. Did you know about this shop ghost?
Oh, you know, I've heard people talk about it, but I always forget which one it is.
It's like the middle one in the second car?
Yeah. So Key is going for an item shop run here. And unfortunately, he's got the worst pincher luck today. So I assume he's going to finish this one off. And yeah, he's going to try to run from it from here. He's still got a ways to go. But I assume from the amount of potions he picked up, though, he should still be in good shape to make it the rest of the way. And he's going to go ahead and burn one of his Phoenix Downs to bring Cyan back. It's a safe play. So, on the other side, Gearless is working on a skip here to save some time. There should be a boss fight here, except if you properly do this glitch where you try to suplex a fish after Cyan has died and come back to life, he responds back to your mixed suplex by punching the fish in the mouth, and the fish's boss just never decides to show up.
I think we call it intimidation tactics.
Yeah, it seems very intimidating. Who knew? You know, that's a good point. Who knew that the black belt would be the unlucky drop here? He probably had... I didn't see. Did he buy that extra Phoenix Down?
Yes, he bought 2 extra Phoenix Downs.
Oh, well, yeah, he was probably down one already.
Yep, he had to use it on Edgar.
If he sold... Did he sell the black belt when he did that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So he should still have plenty of money to make it through the end here.
Yeah. He still has 4-ish K, I think.
Yeah, 4 is plenty. the main purpose of money for the rest of the run is to buy smoke bombs, so that in the other two group scenarios you can just run cleanly from everything, even pincher attacks. So that should not be a problem for him.
Right.
He just has to make it out of here alive. So it looks like Gearless is now at the bottom of the waterfall in an area called the Belt. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. Normally pinchers would be bad, but in this case it means he's still on step route, and he has managed to avoid a worse fight. A redo of one of the fights from Fort Exposition, which has Templars and guards that you can't run away from at all. Neither of these characters have any sort of AoE, so you have to whittle away enemies one at a time, which is time consuming, and that's one of the main benefits of doing step route in the first place. He's managed to get to the wonderful town of Mobliz, which I'm sure has tons of stuff that they could use, but all he really wants is to run to the back, grab a piece of beef jerky, and then run out of town. The story here says that the young child, I think he's a teenager, living out on his own here in the wilderness, will occasionally show up at the end of your fights, and if you throw a piece of beef jerky at him, he becomes your best friend. We can then use him to progress the story along further, so we have to do this. And there's roughly a 60-62% chance at the end of every fight he'll show up. Yeah. Fortunately for Gearless, he did not show up this time on the first try, but you have to get 2 or 3 fights. Ooh, I think he's just going to run for this one. Not even try it.
Yeah, it's probably a good call, honestly.
And Cyan's dead. There are a few triggers that will cause you to not be able to get Gal to show up. One of them is specific fight formations, and another one is having a dead party member. So I'm guessing that he doesn't have any Phoenix Downs, or he doesn't want to burn his tent right now, so he's probably running back into town to stop at the inn.
Honestly, he probably doesn't know that the tent brings back.
He may not. I'm always curious as to whether runners keep track of the other runner or are able to during their races. I assume that you weren't allowed at all during mine. If he doesn't know that he's got the lead that he does right now, he may decide to go on tilt here a little bit and try further on. Because right now he still has a solid lead, but if he doesn't know that, he may feel like he's falling behind.
Right. It's hard to tell when you're racing, honestly.
That's a good point, Tina. If you're used to running longer categories and feeling like you're not allowed to use some of these items, you may not even think to do it. So, Gearless is making another dash down the way to try to finish off. Ooh, that's bad. Sorry. Gearless has run into the boss fight that Mog and the Moguls went through earlier, and unfortunately the Marshal has stopped Sabin, so this is going to take at least 3 or maybe more 4 or more turns in order to get through. Again, not the end of the world, but this is a bit of bad luck here. Ooh. Now that would have been very unfortunate if that second net had been on Cyan. But here we go. Both characters are back at it. They'll keep chipping away. On our other side, Kehanort is catching up with his cutscene where Cyan says goodbye to his family. Gearless is still trying to find Gal. He hasn't popped up yet. And I'm always confused as to whether this formation will allow him to show up. Meanwhile, oh, he has shown up. Okay. So Gearless will be able to throw the beef jerky at the young man in front of them and move on with the story. Meanwhile, Key is trying to run away from a random attack that he's run into right in front of the waterfall. And unfortunately, it was a pincher attack, so this is going to take him a small amount of time. Key with the safety save before taking the plunge. Okay, that makes sense, Tina. I need to get smart enough to be able to tell that from sight, but if a monster is standing in the slot where Gal is supposed to be, it would make sense that he doesn't show up. Meanwhile, Sabin and Gal have finished working on their capoeira lesson, and they are chatting through Gal telling them that he has something they might really want. A very shiny thing, which Mr. Thou would like because Mr. Shiny. We'll eventually find it to be another very useful but mildly physics-defined device. Key is working on his waterfall fight now. He's killed one of the fish. He has almost killed off Cyan. Cyan lives with 1 health, and then the fish takes him down. So he's going to use his last Phoenix down to pick up Cyan. Cyan's going to retort. Sabin is going to try to suplex the fish, and Cyan will get so angry that he's going to murder the fish so bad the fish's boss just never even shows up. There's the retort. There's a suplex. And there's the angry punch in the fish. Do 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 do. Gearless is going to do a safety save because he is right in front of the cave entrance. Gao is going to realize that he's forgotten where he buried his shiny little thing, and we're eventually going to find it and use it to take another jump down the river. The last minute top up on health, and we should be in good shape here. Oh, he missed the square it was on. So we had to double back just a wee bit. So Key has scared off Gao. He's going to go ahead and heal up Cyan, brink of death, and go make his trip to pick up some beef jerky. The party is trying to decide if they really want to take a trip down this river. They realize they have no choice. Gao is scared of water a bit, but realizing his friends have left him behind, he's going to say, screw it, let's go take a dip. So I don't know if there is any sort of manipulation you can do for the trench. It kind of seems like all the fights are at fixed positions.
Yeah, you're always going to get the same fights, but it's a matter of which fights you get, which is not realistically manipulatable.
Ooh, and unfortunately, the first fight for Gearless is a pincher attack. So he's going to have to fight his way out of this one way or the other. So Key is working on trying to pick a fight and get Gal to show up. And it looks like Gearless is just going to finish this fight off and not try to run from him. Key has picked up first try Gal. This is going to help him. This is going to help make up some time against Gearless.
Nice.
If he can fight me. He has successfully triggered this cutscene. He's still a few minutes behind, but honestly, this is going to make up a few minutes for him right here, probably. Because it felt like Gearless had some very unfortunate luck trying to find Gal. So the Serpent Trench has two small detours that you can take. The first one we take because it's extremely short, cuts some time off of our swim. The second we don't because it's a very long, intricate cave, with a couple of pieces of stuff and things. And wow, unfortunately, he's gotten into another pincher attack. So it looks like he's going to have to figure out how to fight and or run his way out of this one as well. Sabin has punched a hole out of the way, so he's going to try to run. Or he might think that he can't. Fool is bad. So now Gal's dead. Gearless is okay here, but in a little bit of a pickle because his health is getting pretty low for the remaining two characters he has, and there's no opportunity to heal between fights. So he has only one, maybe two more fights left at best. So he'll probably be okay. But this is definitely a bit sketchy.
Probably sweating it over there, but he'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I'm sweating it here, and I'm not even playing it.
Right.
He has successfully made it through. So there are no more fights to do for Sabin's scenario. All he has to do is try to punch his way through some of the local merchant traffic, buy some smoke bombs for the next two scenarios. He may or may not buy an extra weapon for Edgar. Some runners do, some runners don't. He has successfully not bought echo screens, which is an unfortunate mistake I've seen people do. No extra weapons for him though, so he's just going to move along here. Unfortunately, on his way to the cave, he has gotten a pincher attack between a mag tech and some soldiers, so he's having to take a moment to fight his way out of it. And it looks like he is going to have to actually fight his way through here. So Gearless has successfully completed Sabin's scenario, which means he's got roughly 15 minutes left to go if everything goes well here. My recollection is 4 minutes for each of the remaining scenarios and 5 minutes for the final boss. So he's going to give sprint shoes to Locke. He's going to run in and out of the building. He's going to attempt to clip through this guard here and run right into him. And if he can do that, he'll skip the next 5 to 10 minutes worth of, hey, got it on the first try. So normally you would meet Celes, you would rescue her from the basement, the two of you would run off together, you would eventually make it through this cave out of town. However, in this case, Locke's just like, peace, and takes off on his own way, which is fairly safe thanks to the smoke bombs that we bought. So there's a small possibility that too much damage or poison will cause problems or roadblocks for Gearless, but otherwise this section is fairly straightforward. Meanwhile, Key is chopping his way, about to chop his way through the trench, and is hoping for more preemptives than pinchers. Alrighty, so Locke is getting to the end of this cave where he has one fight with, it's supposed to be Selens, it's not. He's going to talk to a ghost named Kutan here because dialogue still got to happen, you know. So the ghost of Celes is saying that she will protect him. However, Locke is simply going to throw a thunder rod at the giant mechanical beast, which immediately gets completely shocked and fried and explodes, as it's doing now. So this concludes Locke's scenario. Looks like we're in the clear. He runs off, and we don't have to worry about him anymore. Just one more station to go through, which is finishing off Edgar, Terra, and Bannon's ride down the river, and they're sneaking back into Narshe. While that's happening, Key is still flowing through the Serpent Trench, making his way through. Doesn't look like he's had any kind of setbacks at this point, just normal, my party's been hit a few times trying to run away damage. And he's made it to the end of the trench. Excellent. So Key is going to buy his smoke bombs. He may or may not buy an extra weapon here. And then he will also manage to successfully navigate the scenario. Well done. He's spending his extra money on potions instead of spears. Very peaceful way of going through things, and probably also very safe. This is a very unique route of making it onto this boat. I haven't seen that before. But he has successfully asked the ferryman to take him from Nikea, not a store in Sweden, but instead a small fishing town. And they are going to make their way onto Narshe. So Gearless is successfully made it off of the raft, and he is working his way through the caves that Locke took Terra through, because Terra remembers the secret passageway. You know, I've seen places where stores actually sold Final Fantasy themed potions, but I never actually bought the drinks, so I don't know if potions are tasteful. Have you ever seen those things I'm talking about?
Yeah, they come in different colors, and they call them like different types of healing items.
Do they still make them, and are they worth anything to drink?
I've never had one, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them before, but I would be too scared to ever drink them because I'd feel like they're collector's items or something.
I think they're supposed to be like energy drinks, if I remember right. But,
yeah, I'm sure it'll be the weirdest can of Red Bull any grandfather has ever passed down through generations.
Right.
Fearless is apparently deciding to skip the Moogle Cave. There is an extra weapon that you could pick up there if you can manage to work your way through the pile of cute but deadly things. Meanwhile, Key is working his way through Locke's scenario, and he is about halfway through the same cave. So he's going to pick up his thunder rod in a cloud of smoke bombs, and he's going to light his tunnel armor on fire, just like Gearless did. So both of these runners have done very well and should be proud of their runs. But things are starting to look like they're very safe for Gearless here. Anything can happen, especially with Kefka coming up. But the gap still looks like it's about 4 to 5 minutes. And Gearless may only have 4 or 5 minutes left to go here. Excuse me. And all sorts of things could happen here. He could try the thing. It may work. It may not be a thing at all.
Not the thing.
He could get, do the thing! He could get caught by the rider, which would be rather unfortunate if that happened. He could get ice 2'd by Kefka. Any number of things could happen, so Kehanort is definitely got the shot at this, but it feels like something needs to go wrong for Gearless at this point.
Definitely.
So, on Gearless's side, our story is becoming to bring itself to a head as all 3 scenarios are converging. Edgar and Tara have gotten here and talked to the elders first, as they're having a chat with the local town elders who want nothing with trying to fight off the Empire. Sabin, Cyan, and Gal have shown up to tell them what happened to Doma. The town elder still doesn't get it, but Locke has shown up with General Kutan here to say that no, the Empire really is coming. Get off your butts, get ready for war, because war's about to show up. Insert random backstory and foreshadowing to other story points, which we won't see because we're not doing full runs here. And it's almost time to start a fight. So Kefka doesn't care about nothing. He doesn't afraid of anything. He just wants that Esper.
That sweet, sweet Esper.
That's what she said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to apologize, as women watch this stuff too. So the party is going to run into the back of the town so that they can properly defend the Esper. Kutan says that as a Moogle, she is not a love-starved twit. Hera will immediately ask, have you ever been loved? As if you're not paying attention to what your coworkers are talking about. Cyan says, I don't trust you, which, I mean, Moogles are inherently not trustworthy, so that makes sense. Gearless is going to go for a safety save here, which is a very smart, very safe move. It's at least 5 minutes if you don't do this, and something goes wrong. So he's going to set up his 3 parties by packing the middle party with meat, putting the 2 women off on the other 2 parties by themselves, and instead of doing what the game expects you to do, which is evenly divide up your 3 parties and try to outlast the waves and waves of soldiers that are going to come after you, what we're going to do is take the middle party, dash right through the middle, sneak past everything, and go punch Kefka in the face before any of the soldiers can even realize what's happening. Because as we all know, once you beat the leader of an army, the rest of the army immediately runs ways and surrenders, just like in real life.
Just like in real life.
Pretty much. Okay. So Gearless has gone through 2 proper areas to get skips. He's going to successfully skip the rider. And here's Kefka. Our final boss is coming up. Okay. Let's see how he goes. Looks like he's missed a blitzed input and he wasn't able to wave trick these, so I think we're going to see Kefka's third turn here. The big question is, what will it be? A normal attack, a bolt, or an ice 2, and if it's a spell, will it hit everyone? An ice 2 to ice 2, but just to Gao. So he's lost one guy, but he's definitely going to make it through this fight now. And Gearless has successfully completed with an SRL time of 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 35 seconds. GG to you, sir, and well done.
GG on that.
Meanwhile, Kehanort has made it to the end of Terra and Edgar's scenario. So we're going to get a few moments of cutscenes here and another round of Kefka fighting. Do we want to switch the audio to the other player?
Yeah, I should probably do that.
So Key is now watching the elders, Bannon and the rest of the characters start to argue with each other. The townsfolk are saying that it's our protagonist's fault, everyone's going to die, definitely not the evil empire. The elder, meanwhile, just doesn't want to see much fighting, but we're not going to get much of a choice. The brothers reunite, introduce their new friends, Mr. Thou and Begal. We'll assume that B is short for Bob, which I've heard is Gal's middle name. However, right before the second party doesn't convince them, the third party shows up. Locke and General Kutan. Cyan says, "I'ma punch it." Locke says, "No, you ain't." Edgar foreshadows a story we'll never hear. Terra also mentions that she used to be Imperial. And before we can get any more dramatic exposition, we're going to find out that a fight has just come to Narshe. Okay. Looks like Key is going to completely skip the safety save and just go straight into the battle. He's going to make the same packed 4-man party. Throw Terra and Kutan into the groups and make his way right towards Kefka. Okay, he's made it past the soldiers. He's made it past the rider, and we are go for Kefka. Gonna start with an R bolt with no weight tricking. Bit of a late dispatch, but that's okay. Looks like Edgar's still in the back row. So I think Kefka's going to definitely get his second turn here. We've got a retort from Cyan. But it looks like that third turn was bold. So nothing is overly dangerous here. Looks like we're still in good shape. He's just got to whittle down the last of the HP. Ooh. Okay, Sabin's gone down, but we're okay. And we've got another winner. GG to Kehanort with a SRL time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 46 seconds. Great job to both of our runners, finishing their races and doing a great job.
Yep.
So,
that was awesome.
Yeah, you have any extra comments to tack onto the end here, Reese?